regular the Water District Board of Directors, December 10, 2024 here in Palm Desert. And would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call, please.
Good morning, President Powell.
Here.
Vice President Estrada will be absent today. Director Bianco.
Here.
Director Aguilar.
Here.
And Director Nelson.
Here.
Thank you.
For those of you who just arrived, we had a swearing-in ceremony this morning for Directors Bianco and Nelson. So welcome to the board. I know you've been
thank
here
you.
already.
I was just doing my sergeant alarms, dude.
Locking the back door.
Yeah.
Thank you. So additions, deletions, adjustments. I know we have an item that we're adding to the closed session agenda. Do we need to read this?
Yes.
Okay. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, a need has been identified to add one item to the closed session agenda for today. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. The item came to the attention after the agenda was posted. Do I have a motion to add this item?
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 4-0, so we'll have that on today's closed session. Do we have any other changes?
No, sir.
Not aware of any. This is a time for public comment. Do we have anyone from the public wishing to make public comment at this time? Seeing none. Special presentations and recognitions, and we have quite a few of these today
Which is a good thing.
with some impressive and lengthy bios that I will read. So we have some anniversaries and we have some retirements, and they're listed in the agenda, but for the folks that are here, we're going to go ahead and do the bio, and then once I read all 5 of those, we'll have you come up and we'll do speeches, right? Be ready for your speech. And for those retiring, you can say whatever you want. For those with anniversaries, you might want to watch what you say. Yeah. And
Just kidding.
And photos. Of course I'm kidding. All right. Chad Austin, with 25-year anniversary. Chad grew up in Maryland and moved to the area to serve as a Marine in 29 Palms as well as Camp Pendleton. After he served overseas in Somalia and Kuwait, he returned to the Valley to work for a plumbing contractor. He heard about CVWD from a friend and applied for a position in wastewater at the time, the lowest position at CVWD. I don't know how they decide that's the lowest, but starting at the bottom, Chad has worked extremely hard over the past 25 years and is now in his 10th position at CVWD as the Assistant Director of Facilities and Maintenance. His vast experience through the various levels of hierarchy has proven instrumental to the operations and maintenance department. He leads by example and enjoys helping out in whatever capacity he can. Assistant GM Dan Charlton states that Chad has the ability to dissect an issue to the core and strategically attack the root of the problem. His critical thinking and risk management, along with his hard work, customer service, and leadership have helped him excel in his career. He takes his job very seriously and is a huge asset to CVWD. I'm proud to have him on our team. In his spare time, Chad equally enjoys riding his bicycle and Harley and loves to watch his Philadelphia Eagles. He lives in Palm Desert and has recently started taking acoustic guitar lessons with the goal of learning 2 songs a month, and is currently continuing his education studying behavior-based safety program management. That's pretty good. All right, and then Samuel Martinez Lopez with 20 years. These are still the anniversaries. Sam is originally from Imperial County and relocated to the Coachella Valley 23 years ago. He began his career with CVWD in domestic operations, where he worked as a construction maintenance worker for 9 years. Sam then transitioned to his current role as a canal water technician 2 He's been with the Canal Division for 11 years, taking pride in ensuring the safe delivery of Colorado River water to agricultural customers through the 123-mile Coachella Canal. He's a hardworking and dedicated employee who takes great pride in his work. Outside of work, Sam enjoys spending time with his wife of 23 years, Rocio, and their 4 children, Matthew, Isabella, Caleb, and Sophia. As a family, they love going on camping trips and enjoying the outdoors together. Nice. And then also 20 years, Sergio Martinez. Sergio started at CBWD in 2004 as a distribution operator in domestic operations. After 2 years, Sergio was promoted to Engineering Aide 2 in Environmental Services, where he worked in the Water Quality Division, performing various environmental monitoring tasks such as water sample collection and water flow and depth to water measurements. Sergio later promoted through the ranks from an Aide 2 to 3 and then a technician in 2018. You may remember Sergio as the face of CBWD on multiple billboards throughout the valley during the district's first ad campaign at this time. Could the producer put his picture up there? Do we have it? All right. In 2020, he transitioned into a supervisory role, being promoted to Water Resource Coordinator, now Environmental Monitoring Coordinator. In this role, Sergio has successfully implemented and managed several important monitoring assignments, such as overseeing and coordinating CBWD's first ever lead service line inventory. Currently, Sergio works closely with engineering and consultants for CBWD's projects related to the state's updated Chrome 6 drinking water regulation. Outside of work, Sergio enjoys spending time with family, traveling with his wife Beatrice and their fur baby, Chanel, and attending San Francisco 49er games. Congratulations to Sergio and thank you for 20 years with CBWD. Also 20 years, Gilbert Rodriguez. Indio native Gilbert Rodriguez, whose office hosts a mini collection of CBWD hats coupled with Firebirds keepsakes, loves what he does. Every day is different, he says, and I enjoy meeting people. Plus, his department's work takes him from one end of the district to the other, from the turnout near I-8 to the windmills in Palm Springs. That is so far. Gilbert started here in construction and domestic operations. After 5 years, he took the leap to inspector trainee and then moved up to senior construction inspector, buoyed by a wall full of training certificates. Off the clock, he tinkers with old cars and umpires rec league girls softball. Family boosters include his wife, Teresa, executive administrative assistant at JFK, and sons Gilbert Jr., and who's a chiropractic student at Cal State San Marcos, Ricky and Isaac, both working, daughters Desiree, a sociology student at UCLA, Marie, early childhood development student at Arizona State, and 5 grandchildren. Very accomplished family.
Yeah.
We also have a number of others not attending. Herman Felix with 20 years, Alfred Gonzalez with 20 years, Daniel Martin with 20 years, and Ryan Nieto with 25 years. And then we have, not retiring for the retirement, Steve Shipper with 9 years and Jeffrey Sodia with 37 years. Also here, retiring with 19 years, Paul Zepeda. Paul first started with CBWD as a domestic service worker in April 2005. Paul continued to promote within the department, ultimately achieving the level of a Service Worker 2 in the production division. In 2015, Paul transferred to the Water Treatment Division, where he worked at the district's 3 ion exchange treatment plants. Paul continued to promote through this division, obtaining the title of Water Treatment Operator 2, now Domestic Distribution Operator 2. Paul is well respected among his peers due to his extensive knowledge and experience when it comes to operating and maintaining the district's treatment and pumping facilities. His thorough work kept our facilities safe and efficient. Paul demonstrated strong leadership qualities and was always willing to share his knowledge with others. He was often utilized to help train new employees and lead difficult projects. Paul's leadership and experience will be missed, and congratulations and thank you for 20 years. All right, it says 20 down here and 19 up there. We're gonna go with 20 years of dedicated service. You must have an anniversary or early in 2025. So congratulations. Please come on up, and we'll do the speeches and the photos and the stuff.
We can do them in order. Testing, test. Hello, 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 hello.
Echo in here.
All right, so.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just want to thank the board.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
I'm sorry.
Pictures first? Well, wait, here. Okay, that's why we're here.
The right one.
All right, now you're on.
Absolutely. So I wanted to thank the board first for the opportunity. Thank you, sir, for the leadership and the guidance. Mr. Charlton, wherever he is, been a mentor of mine for 20 years, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. Don't know how long I'll be here, if it's another 5 or 10, but it's been great. I appreciate everybody's work and efforts. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Thanks.
Sam? Okay, here we go. I'm sure you can beat Chad. Up to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks for keeping the water rolling.
Sergio. Front and center. So do you guys get a poster boy?
No. I didn't get paid for that either.
Did it? Are you represented? Is that NLI out there? Yeah, the transfer form, let's go down this.
Well, I know I have to give a speech.
It's up to you.
I was told there'd be a check.
It's up.
Well, man, it's been 20 years, and it's not only been my job, it's been part of my life, and I appreciate everybody that's helped me along the way, and looking forward to, well, not exactly 20 more years, but I don't know, 5 or 10. We'll see. But appreciate everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
So young.
I know, right?
Gilbert. Hey, congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Liz, what do you do with these photos? Are they posted?
She sends them to everybody.
She does?
Yeah, she sends them to everybody.
You do? Oh, okay.
No, I just thank you guys, for working here. It's been a blessed job, and provided for my family, kids in college, a house, my cars, I fix on the weekends and all that, and just thankful and blessed to be here. And like Sergio said, 5-6 years more, and we can retire together. We can start it together. We can retire together.
All right.
So thank you guys.
Good. Thank you. Oh, I'm looking for a little pamphlet. Oh, come on up here.
So nice you're going to change your mind and stay now.
I don't know. I think we give the same thing to everybody. It's up to you.
Well, I just want to say thank you, especially to the domestic department. I enjoyed my time here, and this is something that I really wanted to hit was retirement. A little bit too soon, but I wish I would have done an extra 5 years. But due to conditions and stuff going on at home, I think this is the best thing that I can do for my family. But thank you.
No, thank you. A wonderful carrying case. Yeah. And I'll just hold
Fa la 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 la.
Yeah, you don't need to stay if you don't want to, but
It gets better.
your choice. It doesn't really get much better. That's the best part of the meeting right there.
There you go.
So the consent calendar, items 6A through N. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Well, that's nice. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 4-0.
That was Nelson and Aguilar, correct?
All right, so at this time, is there a script for this, or am I just gonna wing it? This time we'll recess as the Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors and convene as the Public Facilities Corporation Board. And we have one item, which is to approve the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 Public Facilities Corporation Annual Meeting. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 4-0. And that concludes that. At this time, we adjourn as the Public Facilities Corporation Board and reconvene as the Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors. And let's see, the action calendar is A through J. We didn't get to double letters. Carrie, why don't you go ahead? I was just going to say, in the interest of time, we're going to do our best to move through these
Absolutely.
briskly.
Yes, we all understand that,
Thank you.
my staff and I. So, this first one is to authorize the general manager to execute the biennial on-call contract service agreement with EBS Utilities Adjusting to provide services to adjust domestic water valve operator wells and sewer manholes for a period of 2 years, beginning December 11th, 2024 through the 2026. With an option to extend the contract for 1 year at our discretion. This is a program that we've had going on for probably about 10 years. And just as the need comes up, we issue task orders to EBS or the current contractor. So I can, if there's specific questions, I can answer them, or if you need more of a presentation, but just in the interest of time. That's the summary.
I'm good.
Okay.
John, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Replacement of phase 2 of this irrigation line. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
The purpose of this item is to authorize the general manager to execute a construction contract with T.E. Roberts Incorporated in the amount of $7,748,990 for the irrigation lateral 11964-75 replacement project, phase 2. The total cost of this request, which includes engineer of record, construction support, soils and concrete testing support, as well as inspection and a 5% contingency, is $8,502,275. The project is included in the current fiscal year capital improvement budget in the amount of $2,883,000. It is anticipated that the balance of this request will be budgeted for next fiscal year, and any budget amendment required for this year we'll bring to the board. And with that, I'll leave it open. Oh, I'm sorry. The project is funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law loan through the USBR. And I'll take any questions.
David, how long's the pipeline?
It's about 2 miles.
About 2 miles.
The pipeline serves about 1,200 acres of land, about 17,000 acre feet of Colorado River water capacity. The pipeline is. The pipeline has a history of surging over the years. It's close proximity to quite a few properties and homes. That's part of the purpose of this project is to put the water under pressure and eliminate the surging. And yes, the cost is a little high. We've experienced, obviously some inflation over the years, about 55% over the last 2 years in PVC, about 45% in DIP.
$4 million a mile.
4.2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only heartburn I have is that it's in an area that maybe in the next 20 years may not be agriculture, but I'm not sure some of those pipelines are connected to other pipes that go farther distances. But
Sorry, I just want to point out, David mentioned that it's being funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law, but that's this is one of the irrigation laterals that was part of the 60 million that we received a loan for with a really good interest rate, the 1.87% over the next 30 years to pay for these multiple irrigation lateral replacement projects.
okay, I'll
So-
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
C, this is a construction contract with Mountain Cascade for the aeration improvements at Warp 7.
Good morning, President Powell, members
Yeah.
of the board, audience, and my name for the records, I'm Andre Rodriguez with the engineering department. And the purpose of this board action item is to seek authorization to award a construction contract to Mountain Cascade as the lowest responsible and responsive bidder in the amount of $29,855,000 for the Warp 7 aeration improvement project. Also is to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services contract or agreement with Jacobs Engineering on the amount of $910,433 to provide engineering support services during construction. Also, there's some additional soft cost associated with the project to do the oversight. So the total request of today is $33,751,433. As you may recall, there's quite some good drivers here that we need this project. For one, we have blowers that are 30 years old that have been out in the elements, as you can see in the picture, and are in need of replacement just because of the age. They cannot match the existing demand that we need from them. In addition, these blowers are operated at 4,160 volts, medium voltage. Our staff are not certified to operate at this very high voltage. We usually operate at 460. So maintaining them becomes very crucial. But then also at 11 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, when you really need this blowers to operate, you might not have somebody as responsive to come and drive here. In addition, we really want to prepare the plant for future regulatory requirements. That is, we want to be able to have aeration that we're able to meet a total influent limit of 10, and now we're roughly in about 15, but if we can do somewhere below 10, that'd be great. And then also, we would like to have more control of how we aerate, and that way we can economize on our electrical usage, and there is a savings here of $435 a year if we can do that. And then last, address the picture that we have here. We want to be able to install a prefabricated metal building so we can house these blowers so that we can have longer longevity and have adequate supply. As you may recall, we did do the design and back in September 2023. Also, as you may recall, we did put this project out to bid in October 2023,
And in December of last year, we did receive 3 bids, all within the same amount that we're seeing now. There was market volatility then. I think we're still experiencing market volatility now. We did put the project out to design with a reduced scope, and anticipating that market availability, we'd be able to get better numbers. As you can see, we did try. We did try a lot. For one, is we decreased the building footprint from 8,000 to 37. We thought we were going to get some savings of about 4 million or 4.2 million. We also tried to not do a lot of excavations and limit the footprint of not only the building but also the earthwork. And then we also did excuse me. We also did omit some of the radio equipment that was expensive. And then we also try to reduce the length of the piping so that we can get closer to the duration so that we can have better overall savings. But unfortunately, we got 2 bids. The first bid came from Mountain Cascade, $29,855,000. And the second bidder was $29,950,000. In the 25 years that I've been doing public works, I have never seen a bid at this magnitude so close. Staff did review Mountain Cascade's bid, but they did determine to be responsive. So therefore, we're bringing this project forward. I'll pause to see if there's any questions before I continue.
Yeah, I have a question. And I did email Carrie about this as well. And I know there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but I find it, it's a little disturbing that we have more than $40 million worth of construction contracts just alone on this agenda. And the 2 firms that we have that we're awarding contracts to are, I believe, out of the area, and there are absolutely no DBEs in anywhere to be found here. So, and I know we can't do quotas. I know, Jim's probably already thinking that. I told you so. But is it because there are no qualified firms here? Is it because the market is so thin here that we cannot recruit? I mean, there are other agencies that I sat on and represented that seem to do a better job of getting small firms, particularly those that are qualified as DBEs. So I don't understand why it's so absolutely difficult to do that, particularly on a project like an irrigation line where it's largely dirt and pipe.
I definitely appreciate your concern, Director Aguilar. I too find myself perplexed as to why there's not other DBEs. We do try to make sure that we can account for that. We have it in a table. We say, is it DBE? And consistently, I have the same frustrations. It's like, I think with the number of subcontractors that we need to get this project done, that at least 5% or 3%, it's just a difficult undertaking. It is a very tight construction environment, as you can see by the cost, and contractors are super busy, and I think some of them are very selective as to who they partner as well.
Are these 2 bidders the same bidders that bid a year ago?
I think we should wait.
Pacific Hydro-Tech, I believe, submitted a bid. Mountain Cascade is new.
It was new. Yeah, it was. I mean, the numbers are shocking. So a year ago, the engineer's estimate was about half the bid, right? And like 15, and the bid comes in at 30 or something like that. And so we do all this work to reduce the scope and save money. By your description, it sounded like at least $5 million of reductions in the project scope. And then we get rebid it, and it comes at the price that we were bid last year that we didn't like for the full scope. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy.
I don't like this. I think we should put it on hold. I think we should put it on hold until market conditions change a little bit. Maybe it's just wrong timing, and look at this next year and see where things are. it's just ridiculous.
I agree.
I mean, it's too much. I mean, I know it needs to be done, and we will do it, but I just think we should just hold off. It's
Hey, Armando, just on a little bit different track than that. So it's reducing the voltage, and just my experience, my little experience with voltage, when you reduce voltage, you face higher costs. And I know you in your report, you cited decreased energy costs, but and I know that there's, we don't have certified people for that voltage, but just in that issue specific, reducing the voltage, does that use more energy when you go from the higher voltage down to the 450?
Well, I think it's going to use the same, because at the end of the day, there's step down transformers to deliver, so I don't think there's a net gain in voltage. But I can definitely get back to you with a more specific answer to your question.
Yeah, I'd like to know. So if I'm running 480 and if I had to step down to 240, the cost of the energy tends to run higher when I do that. And so we're stepping down voltage, and so I'm kind of wondering if, and I get there's a cost to contracting out some of these specialists to with the higher voltage.
Yeah, there's definitely a savings in regards to not having an intake voltage, other than the safety. But I think for me personally, that's the biggest issue here is having us to have the ability to maintain the blowers at the 460 level if there is an issue associated with an aging infrastructure. That's the key attribute of stepping down as well. But then there's also that $25,000 a year that we save by not having to go outside and depend on a vendor to get that done. I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson, I have to get back to you in regards to the.
I just wanted to see what the quantification of was the step down in power versus the 25,000 that you'd save in contract services, and maybe some lack of response time. I just wanted to compare those items.
We can definitely get those numbers to you.
I'd appreciate that.
In regards to the project, let me just reiterate that the project is already, at least the blowers that are of concern, are already operating close to 30 years. And while I greatly appreciate that we are at this juncture, we did try to have a reduction in scope. We went from 8,000 square foot building down to 37 square foot.
I understand.
To make this a viable alternative to us to continue. Waiting a year might not guarantee that we are going to get any closer to that.
No, but we thought we were going to get a lower bid than this. I mean, this is the same situation we were in a year ago, is that
It's
we
worse.
thought we were going to get, it's worse.
It's less.
Yeah, you're getting less for more.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
But let's see how it goes. As far as the medium voltage, we only have 2 facilities out of all of our facilities that are medium voltage, which is 4160. I don't know why the decision was made 20 years ago. There's no difference. A pump is a pump. The kilowatt hours is going to be the same. The difference is if something happens in an emergency, we have nobody within 2.5 hours that can get to it. I've looked at people, so it's about $3.5 million to change the Mid-Valley pipeline from 4160 down, and somewhat similar here. But in the long run, the change in energy isn't the difference. The delta is the ability to get to it, and in an emergency, make sure that we don't have sewer issues. That is the main thing. And we are in a situation where we got 30-year-old blowers. The blowers are not efficient. We're losing optimization on the energy, not because it's 4160, but because it's not running efficiently on the pump curve. So getting these new blowers is paramount. The reduction in the building, we are willing to sacrifice that to be able to get the blowers. Not saying that this is the right time or not, but it is paramount that we move those forward. But I just wanted to talk about the 4160. In the long run, we shouldn't have any 4160. Or I have to find a way to get people certified because it's just a dangerous situation. Mid Valley Pipeline, we've lost our pumps for the last 6 months. We've lost probably 5 or 6 pumps, and they're on hold. And we've just been lucky that we missed the overseeding and some other things where we were able to run the pumps at the right interest. That's all.
How much does it cost to just build a brand new one facility? I mean, we're just. I mean.
This is just one component of the
No,
facility.
I understand. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me that it costs that much. I mean, to build a brand new one, it's $100 million, and we're just doing a small portion of it. The numbers don't add up. It seems something's wrong.
We have a couple of issues or items related to this. Is we've already pre-qualified and entered into an agreement with the company that's going to provide the blowers, and they have kept their price and until March of 2025. The other issue is our Warp 7 permit that we have from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We have to meet a total nitrogen of 10 milligrams per liter, either by zero discharge. Improving the blowers will get us there, but if we're not able to do either of those, then that requires advanced treatment. So I understand. I mean, we're all frustrated that the bids came in basically the same, but I don't think that it's going to get any better a year from now or 6 months from now. We've already exercised the bidding community twice for this project. And then, so I just want to point those two items out too, that we do have an existing contract for the blowers.
What does that mean, Carrie? Does that mean what?
That means we pre-purchased the blowers. So what was it? It was 1.7.
How can you guys pre-purchase the blowers without a authorization from the board?
We did. You did authorize it. You authorized the pre-purchase.
We did.
In
Okay.
2023, I believe. And so they have held their price at 1.7 million, which is a really good deal. It is a really good price. So that's for the equipment, and then this is for.
So this bid doesn't even include the blowers.
It does.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the contractor's assuming the contract.
So I have a question, Carrie.
So we would.
To anybody really. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we would have to go back out if we can't get them to continue to extend their price. Then there's that component. We would have to go back out, and we would have to rebid the blowers, and that would.
Not here to gamble.
That's another bite at the apple. That's another.
So, according to the staff report, a significant source of funding is a future bond issue.
Right.
So I know we're hoping this would never happen, but if circumstances change in the marketplace or something occurs and we either can't or we have to prolong issuing a bond to cover these expenses, is there a fallback position for funding, or are we on the hook for that, or what is the?
It's 50-50, so it would be 50% the bond financing and then 50% our sanitation capacity charge, which is our developer fees, because we are increasing the capacity of the plant.
Right.
So worst case, that other 50% would have to come from PAYGO, or we would have to try to find some other loan or grant source.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the requirements to do this are not going to go away. We've already exercised the industry twice. We run the risk, if we don't award, of not getting any bids the next time, because it takes quite a bit of work for contractors to put together a responsive bid. I mean, the fact that we only got 2, and they're very close together, would seem to indicate that it is a huge undertaking to put one of these together, but it is also a competitive industry. There's not a lot of profit that's typically built into construction contracts. I mean, it's been a while since I was in the business, but you're not getting more than 2 or 3% on a project because of the competitiveness of it. I don't think things are going to get better if we delay this. First, because the regional board is involved. Second, because market conditions, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you based on past experience, things haven't gotten cheaper. They've just gotten more expensive. This is something we'll have to do. So sooner or later, it will cost us money.
How many blowers are there?
There's a total of four blowers.
And they're 1.7 million each? Well, I think if we delay it again, there's an element of gambling in that, and I don't feel comfortable with that. It's we thought we would delay it and get a benefit from that, and we didn't. So doing that again to me seems like, it seems like a gamble. So I'll move approval of this item.
John, I'll second that, but I want to get back to my question about the bond issue. So are we, maybe Carla or somebody can respond to this, are we already are we doing initial preparation now for the bond issue? Are you seeing that the pattern is positive and we're moving forward with it, or?
We're currently reviewing our policies regarding debt issuances, and so we'll be bringing those to the board in early 2025 to solidify the bond issuances that we're anticipating for the domestic sanitation and the stormwater fund combined. So it's a total of about $114 million, if I recall correctly, between the three funds that the debt issuance would cover. And you're right, this particular one is a $50 million, was the anticipated cost as of the last budget cycle.
Okay. Well, I have similar concerns as two of my colleagues do on this, but I don't see the benefit of deferring this again and the responses getting back perhaps even worse. So I'm going to second the motion.
So on our budget for this project, what did we put in for this year?
So we have a total budget amount of close to $2 million.
How much?
$1,949,000.
How much?
$1,949,000.
How much did we put in for our 5-year CIP for total for this project?
It's probably 25.
Is it the 15 million, or did we increase it?
25. I don't know. I'm guessing.
I would, Director Bianco, I would have to come back to you in regards to that number. I don't have that on top of my head. I'm sorry.
How much do we anticipate spending this year? Was it here and I missed it?
That we do anticipate spending close to the $2 million this fiscal year, and then funding the rest over the next 2 years.
So in this last budget go around, when you guys presented us a 5-year CIP, I'm interested to see if we kept the $16 million or $15 million in there, or we increased it to the close to 30.
I bet it was 25. I don't know. I'm just guessing. That would be logical.
Yeah, I mean, the frustrating part wasn't too many years ago, we spent $26 million to redo the complete headworks. I mean, the complete headworks for Warp 4 here, Warp 7, and another $26 million at Warp 4. And it's costing more to put the damn blowers in than it.
It doesn't make, something doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Something doesn't make sense.
So the, David Lacey just looked up the CIP for the 5-year, and it's 25 million.
25. Oh, good guess.
And I don't,
Good, John.
were the headworks? The headworks were 14 million. We did headworks at Warp 4 and Warp 7.
It was 26 million for both?
Two of them. Yeah.
For two of them?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so, but
was
14
one-
million was definitely
Okay.
what sticks in my head for Warp 7.
For some reason, I had that 26 million. It was because it was for both.
There was one contract for both.
Okay.
So so if the blowers are 7 million, that's the parts basically, right? and the other
That makes it work.
20, the other 15 million or 25 million is going to be labor and equipment, and I don't see how you. What else are they doing that's going to cost tens of millions of dollars?
Well, in addition to the blowers, we have to do a prefabricated steel building. And we have a lot of piping, aeration piping to do. And the third leg is we have to redo all the air diffusers within the two tanks. But then there's a sophisticated control and telemetry that we have to get done as well. And then, of course, there's the electrical component to change from 4160 down to 460.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of work.
So it's the total distribution system for the
It's a
for
total
the air that goes through the ponds and aerates the.
It's a total
not
distribution
just-
system for.
So, that maybe I'm thinking that like we're just buying these 4 blowers and
popping them in there.
popping them in, right?
No, it's the blowers, it is the distribution piping, it is the modulating valves associated with how much air could get to each blower. It is the controls so that we can measure how much air is in each blower. And then it is the telemetry to make sure that we have control throughout 24-hour periods of air. And it's all the electrical components associated and all the mechanical work that needs to be required. It's not just a blower system.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's a motion and a second. Why don't we vote and see how we go here? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 3.
No.
Any opposed? That's 3. It passed 3-1 with 1 absent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, expensive. We're just getting started too. D, this is the switchboard upgrade project. Yeah.
Good morning again, and hopefully this expenditure is a lot less inexpensive than the last. But we're here to seek authorization for expenditures related to the Palm Desert Operations Switch Board Upgrades Projects Specification 2023-22. The project expenditures that we're looking for is project management, $45,000, CVD inspection, $16,000, CVD forces to help with the construction of $5,000, and a project contingency of $100,000. The total request is small, relative to $166,000. As you recall, back in October 12th, the board approved the construction contract of this project, but we also did not approve the soft costs associated with this. We had a bid request. We had GA Technical Services request to withdraw the bid, but on November 12th, the board meeting, that was not accepted. Instead, the board voted to issue the construction contract, but we did not account for these soft costs. So the request now is to add those soft costs back to the construction contract. I'll pause to see if there's any questions associated with this request.
Well, I'm just curious, did the contractor say that they're going to go ahead and build the project?
The contractor, as of now, is working with our project manager and staff to provide us a construction contract and insurance, and there's so far no been issues as of today.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Is there a motion to approve this item, D?
So move.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's 4-0. Passed 4-0. Okay. And then this is the reject bid from Creative Homes and award to Sancon. Go ahead, Armando. It's you again.
So good morning again. This board action item is for the board of directors to reject the bid from Creative Home DBACH Construction as non-responsive, and deem Sancon's Technologies bid protest mute, and then also authorize the general manager to execute construction contract with Sancon as the lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the construction of the sewer manhole Palm Desert and Rancho Mar specification 2023-52 in the amount of $635,985. It is also recommended that we authorize project soft cost for a total request of $776,480. The current scope is to rehab 16 manholes, 2 within Palm Desert and Portola, 5 within Palm Desert along Gary Avenue, 1 in Duval and Frank Sinatra intersection, and then 8 within Rancho Mirage Duval right away. Let me pause to see if there's any specific questions, or I can continue with the presentation.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have worked closely with operations to look at our district-wide and really look at critical projects. And we try to group them together just for cost value. And we developed these 18 manholes. They're closely spaced together. What we're doing within the manhole rehabilitation is, in essence, doing cured-in-place liners. This is a lot easier to do than the whole reconstruction of a manhole, and that does not require open trench and a lot of extensive traffic control. The project was advertised on September 24th, and on November 7th, we received 3 bids from Creative Home. DB as a parent little bidder at $566,250. The second bidder came from Sancon at $635,985. Then Ayala Engineering at $706,000. When we reviewed the bids from Creative Home, DB, CEH, we determined that the bid bond was for a totally different project, a totally different government agency. So we had to classify the bid as non-responsive, not responsible. So then we went to the second lowest bid, and we determined that the bid was responsive or responsible. We have worked with Sancon Technologies in the past in doing the same exact work. I think this is be a 3rd time. And so we feel very comfortable. Sancon did submit a bid protest on November 8th, but because the first bid, and the bid protest was associated with Creative Home, DBE, but since that DBE is not responsive bid, the protest is mute. So therefore, we're recommending that the project be awarded to Sancon. The project is funded through the capital improvement budget in the amount of $776,000, and we anticipate that this project will be done this fiscal year. So there's no impact. I'll close my presentation to see if there's any additional questions.
No. Is there a motion to approve this 7E? I'm sorry, 9E.
9E.
I will move approval.
I'll second, but I do have a question on the first bid. Was it they had just plugged in like a different module from another bid into this bid, with in regards to the bond, or I mean, what was the issue? Expand on the issue for the non-responsiveness.
So the bid bond, as written, it requires that it be project specific. And there is a fill-in line, and it just had the wrong project. It was not a project, the bid bond was not for this project. And our specifications require that the project have a bid bond specific and tied to it. You can clearly see that it's just a bid bond from another project that was attached.
Did Sancon protest on that issue?
Sancon did not protest on that issue. Sancon protested on the certification from one of the subcontractors that they were not certified to do this install. But it was mute because it wasn't a responsive bid.
So they were actually protesting on a different issue.
On a different issue.
And you didn't even pursue that because you had this other issue there.
Okay. Did Creative Home come back to you and say, well, we have the bond, we just plugged the wrong one in?
They did, but the specs require that it be prior to the bid opening, not after.
You can't fix it after the fact, yeah. Okay. So I believe we have a motion and a second.
We do.
Why don't we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passed 4-0.
Thank you.
F. This is phase 2B of this pipe replacement project.
Or not to be.
Yeah, well.
Hopefully to be.
At least this one has lots of dots, so it seems maybe a little more obvious. Go ahead.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Sabrina Neese, Engineering Manager for Domestic Water and General District. The item before you today is a request for the General Manager to authorize or execute a task order with Krieger and Stewart in the amount of $301,400 to update and finalize the Sun City Palm Desert Water Main Replacement Phase 2B project. We have some additional expenditures for a total request of $350,000. This request is also to approve solicitation of bids. The project is currently in our CIP. It's a multi-year project estimated at $14.8 million, and we anticipate that $350,000 will be spent this fiscal year. This is one of the projects that we've brought to you before, which will be paid for using bond funds as part of the domestic water bond issuance. Until the bond funds are available, the project will be paid for using PAYGO funds. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or explain the project in further detail.
So this is the construction contract with Krieger and Stewart. Which phases for all phases here, or just 2B includes what I guess sections of our issues here?
Yeah, so this is actually for engineering services with Krieger and Stewart, not the construction portion of itself. I don't know, Sylvia, if we can go to the next image. So this is actually phase 2B. Originally the project was designed as phase 2. It was what became 2A and 2B. The intent was to construct all of phase 2 together. However, there were some fairly catastrophic leaks in phase 2A, and that advanced construction of that, and that was completed in 2020, if I recall correctly. But there was insufficient funds to complete phase 2B. So we're bringing this project now to complete it, put it out to bid, and get it constructed.
Okay.
Those yellow octagons, or whatever they are, the big ones, are those bigger leaks, or what? Why are some of them bigger than the others?
I think that's primarily a formatting thing related to, we have kind of where the leaks are starting, they propagate, right? So we have a leak, we fix the leak, and then it just kind of keeps moving down the line. And so you'll notice that a lot of our leaks tend to be in concentrated areas.
I know, just some of the yellow things are bigger than the other ones. I didn't know if there was a meaning behind that.
Yeah, more of just formatting.
If it's greater than 10.
This is
that's what it is,
It looks like the blue is a leak.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yellow,
Yeah.
where it says 14, there's 14 leaks there.
No, it's
Yeah,
leak
that's how I read it.
leak number 14. No, Jim's right. It's because it's a two-digit number.
Speculation.
No, I'll buy that. It is a formatting thing. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the leak characteristics.
There's not 14 leaks. I'm not the same one.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Oh,
yeah, they're all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is the most important one to do here.
Yeah, it's the most obvious one.
It's the most obvious one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so is
It's
there?
the one that we need to do, and the others,
We'll see how we
might slow play them a little.
we can afford it.
Do we have a motion to approve this item?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed 4-0. Thank you, Sabrina. Are you sticking around?
Yeah.
G, go ahead.
The next item before you today is our request to approve solicitation of bids for the construction of Palm Desert Operation Parking Lot Rehabilitation Project Phase 3. You might recall last year we did Phase 2, so if it seems familiar, that's why. We did complete Phase 2, and so we're moving on to Phase 3. Phase 3 is the image that's shown in front of you. That's going to be more of on the operations side, around the gas station, auto shop, and under the solar panels. And we'll be phasing that into kind of multiple phases, but it'll all be constructed as part of Phase 3. The project is funded using PAYGO funds. We currently have $2.7 million budgeted for this fiscal year. However, we anticipate that $2.3 million will actually be spent this year, with the remaining funds to be budgeted next fiscal year. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions related to this project.
I mean, this is just a parking lot. We must be able to find a local firm that can do a parking
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. Yeah, and we had a really good response last time. I believe that we had either 8 or 9 bidders. So we had really competitive bids. We actually got a really, really good bid amount on that one. It came in well under. So we're hoping that we're going to get the same here. And there's strong interest. We've had a lot of contractors calling us, asking us when this one's going to be put out. So we do expect to have some competitive bids.
Okay.
Maybe you'll get some local ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at? Did we get the motion yet?
Yeah, I'll move approval of item 9G.
And this is one area where you can save some money since nobody wants to hear that, but we're overbid on everything. Nobody wants to say that though, huh?
Pay the parking lot, save some money.
Yeah, well, for a year or two.
Should come by my office. See how deferred maintenance. Should have done it 20 years ago.
I guarantee.
So this one's not as critical as the other one. I mean, to your point, Anthony, I agree. We're getting overbid on everything, and you know, this parking lot doesn't have the same like immediate requirements. We've pre-bid it. We've pre-bought parts to it. We need to get it done. I'm with you on waiting on this on this one, because you know, if we're in an era of overbidding right now,
Well, we're gonna need the PAYGO funds for some other things, it seems like. I mean, most of you probably don't want to hear that, but I mean, maybe it's something that we just hold off on. I mean, it's you know, John, you weren't willing to gamble on the other one, and I agreed with that. I mean, if it was my money, that's what I would be doing, just because of what everything else is going on. But
yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm gonna stick with that position.
Okay, it's not public facing either.
I will say that the parking lot has reached the end of its useful life. There's some pretty significant cracks on the upwards of inches that does create tripping hazards. So although it appears that it's just a parking lot, there are some safety issues related to the parking lot, and that's one of the reasons we're bringing it to the forefront. It would also help us if we could do it now, so that we can keep the parking lot on the same maintenance schedule, so we don't have half the lot that needs replaced, 10 years sooner than the other lot. So I think it's not as simple as just deferring it because it's just a parking lot.
And then I just want to point out the funding source is general district, so the costs are spread out amongst all of the funds because it does benefit the whole district.
What's the estimate on this?
We have 2.7 budgeted. However, we're expecting the bids to come in a bit less than that. So to put it in perspective, phase 2, if you look at the map in front of you, it's the area outside of the yellow that's under the solar panels. That came in at 850. We're expecting that one to come in well over $1 million. So like I said, we have a lot of contractors that are calling us, asking about this project, that are interested. We expect to have competitive bids on it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because it's PAYGO, it's also an opportunity to draw down the reserves that you all are always asking about.
Oh, we'll draw them down just fine. They're already getting drawn down. Well,
I mean, I'm gonna just hold my guns on this one and pass on it.
I'm fine with that.
We'll look at it next year and see where we are. I think it's the prudent thing to do.
2.7 million.
Yeah, again, that's just what we had.
Yeah,
budgeted.
so it hopefully comes in less.
Yeah, correct. And then we do currently have it in the CIP.
Right. Well, should we?
John, I think I made a motion on this item, so.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Was it seconded?
No.
No.
All right. Well, why don't I second it, and then why don't we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Peter, where were you?
No.
So it's failed 1 to 3 with one absent.
So because the recommendation was to approve,
Right.
and since that motion failed, in order to have a record in the minutes as to what happened and what direction to staff would be, I would recommend a motion to not approve going out to bid and directing staff to bring this matter back for a future solicitation.
I'm hearing a couple years from now.
Well, just by saying future, that's not binding anyone
Yeah.
to do it 6 months, 2 years, whatever. Just so that we have a record in the minutes as to exactly what happened.
I think we can bring it back in a few years.
For a future solicitation would be
Correct.
all you need to say.
For a future solicitation.
Yeah, that's fine. Is that sufficient direction? I think it is.
So say that again, Jeff.
So
I mean,
the-
I'm with you on the. I mean, it's just a big spend day, and it's kind of like you want to take back whatever you can.
So the motion would be to not approve
Right.
the bid going out to bids and to direct staff to bring this back for a future solicitation.
Is that a motion, or are we just
That's a motion.
interpreting?
That's a recommended motion.
The action was that this project failed, right? So, new motion. All right, that's fine. So the new motion is to not do this project and to bring it back at some future date. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 No.
And one nay. Okay. So that passed 3-1. with
You're in
one
a
absent.
spending
Who's
mood.
the second, though? I missed the second.
Well, you know, I just think it's.
I guess Christmas,
It's
huh?
gonna get cheaper.
May I ask who the
Right.
second was on that
Bianco.
second motion? It was motion by President Powell, second
Bianco.
by
Bianco.
Bianco. Thank you.
Second, yeah, okay. Thank you. Is there more?
There's more.
Uh-oh, are we onto the booster station?
We are.
All right, go ahead.
So the next
Sabrina.
item before you is a request to approve solicitation of bids for the construction of Booster Station 5513, the rehabilitation and upgrade project. This project is funded similarly to the previous Sun City Phase 2B project that we were just discussing, of which we'll use PAYGO funds until the bond financing is available. We anticipate that $150,000 will be spent this fiscal year, and currently the estimated cost for the booster station is $8 million. This booster station is within the Thunderbird community. It's fairly aging, needs to be replaced and upgraded, is somewhat of a difficult location, and so related to this project, one other thing just to bring some awareness to, there's a reservoir within that community as well that we will be constructing. However, because of the nature of the community, we're phasing it. So we're going to be doing the booster station first and the reservoir second. So it is critical that we move forward with the booster station so that we can ultimately build that second reservoir, take the first reservoir out of service for rehabilitation, and then put it back in service. But I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or go into further details about the project if you have any additional questions.
It's just another really expensive project.
It's expensive, yeah.
Little sticker shock.
This was also a project that was started many years ago, back in 2018. So we did have the design that was started. We came to the board somewhat recently for another task order so that the consultant could revisit the design, get it back up to code because all of our code requirements have changed related to seismic and building codes. So we have spent a little bit of money as a result of deferral already. So just to bring some awareness to that. And so the intent now is getting a bid package ready to go so that we can actually build this booster station rather.
Okay.
What is the funding source for this?
This will be funded using PAYGO until the bond financing is available. So these were all related to the bond financing discussions that we've had in the previous study sessions. So on the domestic side, we have the Sun City Phase 2B that we just discussed, the Reservoir 5514, and then also this booster station 5513.
Okay.
Who's the engineer estimator? Who estimates the costs?
We have an engineer of record who put together the costs. These costs were put
Is he a full-time employee or is he?
Oh no, the consultant.
Contract.
Yeah, the consultant that we hired for the design, the engineer of record.
Is that the same one that we use for all the projects?
No, it varies from project to project.
Okay. Because we're seeing like a pattern where the engineer's estimate is not hitting even close to what the projects are costing, so we need a better estimator.
Or lower bids.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so in this case, the estimator, is it Krieger and Stewart, or is it Woodward and Curran?
No, Krieger and Stewart is the engineer of record.
Krieger and Stewart.
Yeah, we have been talking about updated cost estimates. One of the concerns with this particular area is the community of which it's located in, which is fairly prestigious, and they don't want a lot of construction traffic within their community. So obviously that bears a little bit of a burden on us because we have to talk about staging, and it's going to slow down the contractor
Well,
a little
you
bit.
mean we do more for people who have money than those who don't?
That's a good question.
No, they just have strict rules within their community, within the HOA itself, with what vehicles can be parked on the street. They have access limitations, so they have a whole protocol of how we enter their community, because these are their streets and it is within their HOA. We do have to work together with them as partners.
So I think the question would be, who bears the cost of that? Is it just the domestic fund, or is there some responsibility by the community that has these restrictions to bear some of that cost? You know what I'm saying?
We have similar MOUs that we have to enter with any of these different types of HOAs. So Sun City, for example, we have an MOU. Talavera, we have an MOU. You know, they because we're entering into their community and the streets are private and we have an easement, we have to work with them. So it's not just this community. It's any HOA.
I mean, but to John's point, just because we work with a variety of HOAs that have a variety of stipulations and requirements, there are other areas that we serve that don't have those requirements, and so it's cheaper for us to do the staging or the construction. And so what cost are these HOAs bearing in terms of these additional requirements?
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. We'd have to look into that, because if we're in a public right of way, we're getting an encroachment permit from a city or a county, and they have their own set of requirements with respect to the working hours, traffic control, the pavement requirements, how we leave the site at the end of the day. So instead of working with the city or county in a public right of way, we're just working with an HOA on their
That's a
private
fair
streets.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, those are not easy to get either, and they have even more strict in some cases from the city or county.
Yeah, no, I imagine that this is always going to be an issue. This is a pretty tight sort of topography area here. Just notice there's that lot across the street, but that looks like maybe a home site.
Those are all homes.
That's
correct?
not, that's not our property, huh?
Correct.
Across the street.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve this solicitation of bids on 9H?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 4-0. Aye.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Good discussion, by the way. I think that was...
Good, thank you.
I knew what direction I was going on that one. So you helped clarify that.
Okay.
Aye.
Here we go.
This-
This is a long time coming. So it's recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to execute the ground lease at Lake Kuya between CBWD and the Riverside County Regional Park and Open Space District, and provide concurrence on the recreational land use agreement between the United States Bureau of Reclamation and the Park District. So the Park District is currently presenting this item to their Board of Supervisors here at 9:30-ish for both of these agreements as well. I'm prepared to go over the highlights of both agreements if you'd like, or if you have specific questions, or in the interest of time, maybe you've already read the BAI.
I know we've. It was really long. I mean, I read through the lease, and you have this about 2-year-old consultant's report that I guess the county hired this consultant to demonstrate that there is quagga villager activity throughout the canal and in Lake Kuya.
Well, there's villager presence. It remains.
Villager DNA. Right?
DNA,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, so
alive or dead. I mean, there's no
not viable.
There's unviable.
Not viable.
Yeah, non-viable.
And we're not seeing any colonies or anything like that.
Correct.
So,
No.
I mean, our concern is that some viable invasive mussel would establish itself in Lake Kuya and then work its way into our distribution system.
Correct.
Right? And so I noticed there's some protection for that in the agreement, but I also noticed that they seem to be building a pretty extensive case of how they're going to defend that by saying it wasn't them. You know?
Right, but we also prepared a letter in response to that report, and so that's included as an appendix within the lease as well. That where we believe the study fell short, but we do have 2 mechanisms to monitor the quagga mussels, and that's all of the concrete blocks within the canal, and then the concrete block within Lake Kuya as well. So we feel pretty comfortable with the way that we monitor and the way that this has been structured. So.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think that prevention is going to be the main thing, right? I mean,
Right.
because nobody wants to find ourselves in a situation where we're all pointing fingers and we have a real problem.
Right.
So we want to prevent that from happening. I mean, that's my main concern is we need to make sure we have robust prevention.
Right.
No boating, et cetera.
And the county does have their protocols in place to address that, and we agreed to work with them to make sure that those were enforced. And
Well, that was my question to John's point in the lease in 4.1, where it talks about the controls.
Right.
So how are those all monitored? The uses of the lake, introduction of folks who are doing bad things they shouldn't be doing. I mean, are there park staff there all the time?
Yes, there's park staff there.
There is.
Yes.
It's very strict.
Yeah, and I will go back to the experience I had. I ride my bike out there quite a bit, and watching a vehicle stop at the gate, drive around to the backside of the lake, kayak strapped to the top, no instructions to leave it at the gate or in some secure area that it won't be at a campsite, and those kinds of issues really frost me. And in reading the report and so forth, I mean, now we're stocking the lake with water from where? And I have deep concerns about the ability to maintain control if we can't even control, the gate. Now you're going to go to a fishery and stock the lake with fish from Lake Havasu? I mean, where are the fish coming from?
We have fish protocols in here, though.
Yeah,
They
and I
have
would
to-
like to hear more about the fish protocols, maybe from the county representatives, what they do. And then what assurances we have that, watercraft aren't getting into the area. I think, what I heard from the attendant at the guard shack was, well, we told them that they couldn't put it in the lake. Well, if there's no alcohol policy, you also told them that, not bring any alcohol in, but people do. It's just people are not rule abiders. So this is great concern. I have concerns about the fish and the ability to police the regulations that are in place to prohibit any watercraft and things of that nature into the area.
And Carrie, just so you know, Kyla Brown is on the line and has her hand raised. So if you'd like her to provide some comment, you can.
Yes.
Would you like
I haven't
to
got to
hear
hear
from
Kyla
sure.
Brown? She represents the county parks.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me.
Yes.
So Kyla, I'm moving you over. You should be able to unmute yourself and provide some feedback.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Kyla Brown. I'm the general manager for Riverside County Regional Park and Open Space District, and I'd like to address your comments related to boating and the stocking of the lake with fish. I'll start with the kayak incident. I think that was a few years ago, but you're right. The customer was allowed to bring in their kayak with instructions they couldn't launch it. We have since modified our protocol to require people to remove their boats. Excuse me, I'm battling a cold here. Remove their boats or leave them outside of the facility. So we have not had a repeat incident like that since the time that you had observed. In addition, we do have park rangers and other volunteers that help patrol and monitor. So if they observe somebody trying to launch something or put something into the lake, we can respond and prevent that from occurring. And we haven't had an issue or an incident of somebody launching a boat or putting something into the lake that is not permitted. With the fish stocking, there are strict state protocols through Fish and Department of Fish and Wildlife that all fisheries need to abide by in the effort to prevent quagga introduction in locations where there isn't already quagga, and just in general, transporting quagga across the state is not permitted. So the fisheries have to show compliance with those protocols, and we only stock fish from locations that are in compliance, and we adhere to strict procedures when adding fish to the lake, such as if they're stocking any other location, they have to stock Lake Cahuilla first so that there's no secondary contamination probability. And we monitor, those stocking vehicles as well as the locations that that fish is coming from. I can answer any other specific questions that you might have.
Jeff, did you? Oh, sorry.
Does CVWD have a list of the approved fisheries? And do you supply CVWD with those lists and the the oversight that goes along with that?
Do we supply? We supply CVWD with who we're using for our stocking and show that they are in compliance with state the state regulations, and then we provide copies of our on-site monitoring, the inspection of the vehicle, the monitoring of the stocking as it occurs.
Okay, wonderful. So with that list, the CVWD is aware of the location of the fisheries and can look at those at their leisure.
Yes.
I would assume so. They have the location with the contract information. Yes.
Okay.
Hit the square. Yeah.
Yep. Hi.
Yes, we've been working with Kyla for a couple of years on this issue, and our biologist is in regular contact with Riverside County prior to all the events and stocking of Lake Cahuilla, and we do have those records, and they've been sharing those records with us regularly. So.
Okay, would you be able to send me the locations of all the stocking facilities that are utilized currently?
By email, sure.
Thanks.
It's probably the same list that the farmers use when we buy fish for our reservoirs.
William, if you can send it to me and I'll
And
forward
we
it
have to
all.
go through the same hoops. It's probably the same list.
Well, could be different. I mean, they're getting, you know, trout and bass and all kinds of things. I don't know what they're putting.
No. Well, you know, I just want to say, I feel pretty good about this. I mean, it really comes down to, you know, we allowed this to be used for recreation since the beginning. Okay, this has become entrenched in the community. Okay, and I understand the importance of protecting agriculture more than anybody, and I commend you guys for spending the years in the negotiation with the county to figure out a solution to make all parties happy. And so I'm happy. I mean, if this was a body of water, I mean, like Lake Havasu or something huge that had multiple entrances that were, you know, but there's basically one entrance into here. We put the clamps down on pretty much everything. Now we're not even allowing them to carry a kayak even into the park. I'm pretty comfortable that this can continue on to be an asset for the community and for CVWD, and I'm happy where we finally come to the finish line. I mean, this has been a long time.
It
I mean,
has.
this is
Yeah.
I'm on my third term, and I think it was on my it's been that 4 or 5 years, right? We've been dealing with this.
It expired
Maybe-
in 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I want to get back to my question though to Jeff. So, Jeff, particularly in the indemnification provisions of the lease, in the event of an invasive occurrence, are you comfortable with the language that's in the lease, and did you review that, and does it need to be strengthened, or are we okay?
Yes, I've been involved in this for the past couple of years as well, and the indemnification clauses are very good for CVWD, and I believe they would hold us harmless and indemnify us in the case that the county or someone other than CVWD fails to live up to this agreement. I would note that the current lease does have the same basic indemnifications, but we've taken it further in terms of defining lessee contamination, the environmental laws that have to be met, the CVWD indemnified parties. And we've also included a protocol not only to prevent contamination, but to help determine if there is, who caused it. So whether or not the county puts some letter in this lease that says we don't think it's going to happen, and our response thereto, we have in there now protocols to prevent, and if anything happens, to determine who's at fault.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Mr. President, if I may, I
Go ahead.
apologize. I didn't. We did receive a letter of comment as well from the city of La Quinta, which will be added to the record and distributed to the board. And we do have one member of the public who is requesting to speak on this item. So before the board
Okay.
would make a decision, if we could have that
Okay. Yeah.
individual
Sure.
come up.
Yeah, this would be a good time for
Sure. Time to
public
break.
comment.
So we have Julian Renhel. And you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you can please come up to this podium. Thank you.
Yeah. Right
this
over
one
here.
right here, please. And I'll go ahead and unmute you, and you'll see your clock once you start speaking. I got.
Morning, Mark. My name is Julian Rangel, founder and owner of Desert Valley Outdoors, located here within the Coachella Valley. I was a leading advocate for keeping Lake Cahuilla open, or just spreading the word to the community about what was going on.
It's fine.
Been a long 3 years. It's good to see your guys' face, and I'm just here to say thank you. Thank each and every one of you guys for doing what you did, and hopefully we can get this approved. I will do my due diligence to help prevent Quagga mussel from getting into Lake Cahuilla by spreading the word to over 2,400 local members that visit Lake Cahuilla. Not only that, but I'll be teaching kids out there how to hunt, fish, shoot, and all that good fun stuff. Not shoot, because we don't have access to the range. But what you guys were talking about on what they do for prevention at Lake Cahuilla. I've ran derbies there. I've ran derbies where we sold out that whole park. Their process of what they need done is quite intense, right down to where they have their own fish chute when they stock the fish, and that is held there at Lake Cahuilla. The waters, the trucks, everything that comes in is inspected for quagga before any water comes out of those trucks. And that's through Department of Fish and Wildlife. His name's Quinn Granfers, who is the biologist, and as well as your biologist, Solon Watts. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's here, the main, the main guy. But just know that I'm here to say thank you. Thank you for the 3 years. Thank everybody for doing what they did to get this thing done. It's been a long process. And you do have somebody there to advocate to prevent quagga mussel. And I lead a hard bargain.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your effort to help protect that lake, because that's what's going to help keep it open.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will keep
yeah.
fishermen out of those canals. We know how important it is to our water out here in the valley. We know what it can now do because we were educated on it, and we do spread that word that we learned from CVWD.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. With that, I'm good.
Be
Again,
well.
thank you all.
How big do the fish get out there?
For our derbies, our biggest one was 11 pounds, and that was a trout.
Oh,
We stock
that's
fish.
pretty big.
But the county, they stock up to about 2 or 3 pounds on the trout. And
Yeah.
they do
Got
stock
away for
channel
a
cat
long
somewhere in
time.
time, and they get up to 4 or 5 pounds.
You're
Wow.
not putting that in your reservoir.
I invite you all to come on out, and you need anything, let's
Yeah,
get it.
that's awesome. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, folks.
Yeah, no, it's a great resource. I have memories growing up at Lake Cahuilla, and I'm glad that we have an opportunity to protect it and keep it open for the public. So, is there a motion to approve this item?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passed 4-0 with 1 absent. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support.
Yeah. That was a lot of work for the staff. Jay.
All
Terry,
right.
go ahead.
Thank you. This is another agreement. It's recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to execute the System Conservation Implementation Agreement between the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation and CVWD to install tertiary treatment at Warp 4 as part of the Lower Colorado River Basin Conservation and Energy Program, Phase 2. So, in essence, we applied for grant funds in the amount of $39 million to install Phase 1 of our recycled water project at Warp 4. And the Bureau, with some conditions, is willing to give us the $39 million in exchange for CVWD to conserve 33,600 acre feet of Colorado River water over 30 years. There is a mechanism in this agreement to allow for us to propose another way to conserve the water or to conserve some of the water. And it's outlined in a technical memorandum in Exhibit D. So if we wanted to shrink the 30-year time commitment and we, had another option and another way to conserve this water, say 15,000 acre feet of it, then we could provide that to the Bureau, and if they approved it, then we would have met half of our obligation. So that's some flexibility there. The agreement is contingent on entering into a forbearance agreement with the Section 5 contractors for the creation of this water. There are other agencies that are going to receive or have similar agreements where they will receive grant funding. So that is still yet to be agreed upon and determined. We also have to complete our environmental, both the CEQA, the Bureau has to complete the NEPA, and then we also have to ultimately get the California State Water Resources Control Board to approve our change petition related to Warp 4 and discharging to the channel. We have until September 30th, 2031 to complete the project, and we have until December 31st, 2058 to conserve the full amount, the $33,600. If we aren't able to conserve that full amount, then we would have to reimburse the Bureau of Reclamation based on the percentage of water that's not left in Lake Mead. So if that summarizes my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any other specific questions.
What happens if the growers don't want to take this water?
Well, we've had preliminary discussions with the three related to phase 1, and we've received favorable indications that they would be willing to take it. So we are moving forward under that, under those preliminary discussions, but we will have to enter into agreements with them, and it will be a blend. Because the first phase 1, will only be able to meet some of the demands. So it will be a blend of recycled water and Colorado River water.
Are there further distribution systems south of this program that if there was a increase of water production, that it could be distributed to additional farms to the south?
Yes. Yes, there's 3 phases. The first one is the 1 MGD, or basically 1,120 acre feet, and then phase 2 would increase another 1.5 MGD to 2.5 total, and then ultimately, if we had the demands, over the next 20-30 years, we would increase up to the 9.9 or the 10 MGD capacity of the plant.
So this is bucket 2. So we're participating in bucket 1 for the 1A and 1 with the Bureau, with our recharge pause. And so this is bucket 2. So they're paying more dollars per acre foot for this, and that's the $39 million. We put in with the State Water Board some years ago an application to do this, and we got a number of letters of opposition, both from Pacific Institute, Imperial Irrigation District, and I think there were some others. I think it's the right thing to do to recycle, this water and reuse it. It's still under our control. I believe that the QSA had contemplated additional inputs to the sea that would maybe offset some of this, maybe not all of it. But with this project, the Bureau's willing to fund it to do some of the CEQA and environmental work on it, NEPA, as well as provide for the facilities and so forth. And we have done water reclamation at all, at our water reclamation plants all around, and it is really been helpful to the community and provided additional water supply. So I think that this is like a first good building block that can be built here at Warp 4, and I would support it. It's really a good thing to do. We can back up water in Lake Mead for the time being, and you know, have additional water supply out in the East Valley.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, I don't necessarily see it as a benefit to these growers, but I do want to acknowledge that they, at least I've spoken to some of them, and that they have experience with using reclaimed water in other parts of the state, and they're willing to be participants in this for the benefit of the system. And
that's terrific.
You know, I think that's great. I mean, obviously they already have water, but this is a different source. But I do appreciate their willingness to participate and help out.
I would say this one additional comment, John, is that the price of the water is expensive, and it is expensive. But you know, when you look at over our all portfolio, if you were to not just attribute the cost to the water generated, but to the overall portfolio of the district, it gets blended, and so the cost comes down. And this is an incremental supply that I think, as a responsible water agency that's dealing in a historic drought on the Colorado River, that the cost is warranted, spread it out over the total supply from the Colorado River, and it's a pretty small amount. You know, we're not going to be charging these growers that take this water $1,100 an acre foot. We're going to charge them the commodity charge, which may go up slightly because of the fact that we have this supply, but not substantially.
And
I agree. I mean, this is really expensive water, but I think we're tasked with doing our part. I mean, are we doing everything we can to recycle water here in the Coachella Valley? And the answer is yes. This is just another project. It's going to cost us a lot of money, but it's the start, and it demonstrates that we are trying to take every bit of water and put it to good use. I mean, we really are.
Mr. President, just before the board moves towards an action, we did receive a letter of public comment that was distributed from Mr. Mike Cohen, and I would just note that it will be added to the record officially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I read his comment, and a lot of what he said does make sense, but we are trying to put everything to work here. I mean, every bit of water we're trying to recycle and put it to good use, and I think using it here in agricultural fields is, you know.
And revisit the Warp 7 issue?
It's
Yeah.
I approved that one. So
yeah, so
is,
I would.
is there? Go ahead.
I would make a motion to approve item J, to authorize the general manager to execute the system conservation implementation agreement with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation.
Second.
Yep, appreciate that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 4-0 with one absent. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
The parking lot. Yeah, we're not going to trade that for a parking lot.
It's a pretty good even trade-off, right? Recycled water for the parking lot.
Okay, human resources.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Jay Trinneman. I'm outside Labor and Employment Counsel for the district. The matter before you is the recommendation to approve a successor defined benefit and compensation plan. This governs the confidential, at-will, and unrepresented employees. There are approximately 29 of them that are not otherwise in the two bargaining units that negotiate memorandums of understanding with the district. And what's before you currently, the current defined benefit and compensation plan is scheduled to expire on December 31st of this year, necessitating the need to enter into a successor agreement or successor plan. The proposed and recommended plan would be for a term of 2 years that would run through December 31st, 2026, For the most part, the terms of the current plan would carry over into the proposed successor plan, with a few exceptions that I can run through. The new plan calls for a cost of living adjustment in January 1st of 2025, and then another on January 1st, 2026. Those cost of living adjustments would be based on a range, or be based on CPI between a floor of 2% to a ceiling of 5%. That's consistent with how the district had in the prior DBCP and how it negotiates with the individual bargaining units. We know that the CPI number that would trigger the 2025 increase was below 2%. So in effect, that would call for a 2% cost of living adjustment for 2025, with the 2026 increase to be determined based on the following year's CPI. The other few adjustments in this plan would also call for an increase of the vehicle allowance for the assistant general manager, an increase from $500 a month to $750 a month. The education reimbursement that's already part of the plan would be increased by $1,000 per year for both levels, lower level courses and for upper level courses. There is a supervisory leave for certain employees in the plan. That would be increased from 16 hours to 18 hours. That would make that supervisory leave consistent with the supervisory leave we have with the asset bargaining unit. And then finally, the proposed plan calls for an increase in the ability to cash out accrued vacation, depending on there's 3 different categories of employees: department heads, confidential supervisory, and confidential administrative. Depending on what level you are, the category 1 folks would be able to cash out up to 160 hours of vacation a year. The category 2 would be able to cash out up to 120 hours per year. And the category 3 employees would be able to cash out up to 80 hours of vacation time. Just to be clear on, this is not additional liability to the district. This is the employees cashing out a vacation they've already accrued. It will need to be cashed out at some point in time. This allows an opportunity to cash out now if the employee opts to. It would be at a lower rate than if they were to be separated or continue to carry on that vacation. That would then be earned at a higher rate. So it in essence becomes a wash, pays out a liability sooner. The remainder of the terms would stay the same in the existing plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll make a motion to approve. I think we've gone through this.
Right.
As a board. A lot.
We have. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. And the vote, all in favor say aye.
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 Passed 4-0. Thank you, Jay.
Great, thank you very much.
See, Operations L. Biosolids Management Services.
Morning, Luis.
Good morning, guys.
Louis Turner, Wastewater Operations Manager, presenting the recommendation to authorize for the General Manager to execute a contract service agreement with Synagro West LLC in the amount of $1,525,632 for biosolids management and management services, and approve additional contingency expenditures of $154,368 for a total requested authorization of $1,680,000, and establish a blanket purchase order with Ecology Organics for redundancy purposes. The biosolids managed services are included in the fiscal year operating budget in the amount of $1,340,000. There will be approximately $680,000 remaining in the budget as of December 31st, 2024. The CSA will be a calendar year contract, and additional funds of approximately $1 million will be included in the proposed fiscal year 26 budget. As such, there's no adverse impact for the budget itself. Currently, our 3 warps, Warp 10, 4, and 7, produce over 20,000 wet tons of biosolids. The removal and disposal of biosolids is highly critical to our process control and highly regulated by state and federal agencies. CVWD contracts the removal and disposal of biosolids to an outside contractor who has the ability to meet our ongoing disposal and compliance requirements. The request for the proposal was advertised on September 11th, 2024, and on October 9th, 2024, 2 proposals were received. CVWD reviewed and independently evaluated each proposal and selected Synagro to perform the biosolids management contract services. The CSA term is for 1-year term with 4 additional 1-year options. The staff will include annual renewal amount in future budgets, and staff will evaluate the performance and pricing of Synagro annually to determine if it's in the best interests of CVWD to extend the contract or resolicit for new proposals. Synagro has been providing biosolids management services for over 45 years and serves more than 600 local governments across the United States. Additionally, staff recommends that we establish a blanket purchase order with Ecology in the event of a service disruption by Synagro. This redundancy will reduce the potential of a business disruption in biosolids management for the district. So I'll open it up now for any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you.
Got through that very quickly.
Yeah.
It's been a long meeting for all of us, guys. So.
Yeah, we're doing better than I expected. So is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion. It's pretty straightforward.
I'll second.
I agree. All in favor say aye.
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 Yeah.
Pass
Cool.
4-0.
Thank you guys. Have a good
Thank you, Luis.
Well done. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of
Remember to breathe once in a while.
kind of just snuck in there. No, don't listen to him. All right. So written communications, there were 2 items on there. I think they're resolved, and then we do have an information presentation regarding the CalPERS evaluation report and the pension 115 trust. Carla, good morning.
Good morning, board members. I'm going to slow it down a bit. Just a little bit. If you recall, back in July, we came forth, we brought you the last valuation report from CalPERS. At that time, we decided to make the lump sum unfunded accrued liability payment. I will try to avoid acronyms. It's a UAL payment for this fiscal year. So we have made that payment. And included in the budget, there was some additional funding of about $7 million to send either additional discretionary payments to CalPERS, as the district has been doing, and we will review, or set up a pension 115 trust. And at the time, it was decided that we should really review the Section 115 pension trust as a viable option, and not just send the additional discretionary payment to CalPERS. So I'm here to provide you some information regarding options the district has, and as an informational item with the intent to bring forth a recommendation for the board as we go forward in the next month or so. So I decided to give you a summary from 2018, fiscal year 18-19 to 23-24, because the district has provided additional discretionary payments to CalPERS during the same time frame of about $27.6 million, as you see on your bottom right-hand corner of the screen. During this time, the pension liability went from $137.4 million to $156 million, which is about an $18.6 million increase, and that's after those additional discretionary payments. The last valuation report, if you recall, had about a $55 million change. This one has almost a $6 million change, $5.9 million change in funding, meaning that the liability increased by that amount based on the investment returns and unfunded liability for CalPERS. The CalPERS investments returns for the last 10 years are noted on the left of the screen and bar chart to the right. You'll notice I highlighted in gray the 4 times out of the 10 that the fund has performed in excess of their projected returns. So it's about a 40% rate where they're exceeding their expectations for their target rates of return. If we take the negative amount that particular fiscal year, if you recall during the presentation provided by CalPERS last year, they take that negative and they add it to that positive. So that really is a negative 12.9% return. And if you add that as a negative, that negative 12 point something, it's actually negative 0.35% return over that same period of time, the 10 years. And so this prompts us, right, to rethink, are we going to send additional discretionary payments to CalPERS, or should we rethink a different strategy? We also discussed during the last meeting that we wanted a funded goal of about 80%. We know 100% funding is optimistic, but even at an 80% funded goal, we're talking about a shortfall of about $47 million. And I presented the last 2 fiscal years here. If we walk through the chart, the valuation dates are to the left. If you remember, those are 2 years in the rears. And so the latest valuation date would be the June 30th, 2023, which is the attached report to the agenda item. The accrued liability, total accrued liability is $541.4 million. Total assets within CalPERS are $385.3 million, almost $0.4 million, leaving us a liability of $156 million. So again, $47 million is not something we would fund overnight, but it would require incremental progress every year. And if you look at the CalPERS valuation report, one of the pages does give you an indication as to how much, if you set aside a certain amount per year, how fast the liability would decrease and how much savings you would have. If you did it over a 5-year period, you would be required to fund the liability at a rate of about $9.5 million. If you did it 10 years, it's about $5 million with a savings of $42 million. And if you did over 15 years, you're talking about $3.2 million with a savings of $11 million. So the savings significantly changes depending on how quickly you fund the unfunded liability. And that's with CalPERS, assuming they're achieving their 6.8% rate of return. The benefits of having a Section 115 trust as opposed to only sending the monies to CalPERS is where pre-funding benefits we have already told employees that they are obligated to receive. It also allows us to have investment flexibility. A CalPERS pension trust, depending on the trust that we select, has a range of investment options that the board can select, monitor, and adjust at any point in time, ranging from very conservative investments to a little bit more aggressive, but again within the board's control. They also improve our credit rating and assure that we are committing funds to this obligation so that the credit rating agencies can allow us to borrow at a lower cost in the future. They are legally protected from creditors and legal obligations of the district, meaning they are not, they can't be used for any other purpose other than the retirement benefits assured to employees. They also provide budgetary flexibility. If you recall, like the OPEB trust that we currently have, we've been able to draw down funds from that OPEB trust of about $850 million per year for the last 2 years. And that fund is still funded at 850,000. Yes, sorry, 856,000, I believe. But that particular OPEB trust is still 99% funded. So we're able to draw down a lot of the investment earnings and then have some budgetary relief within our multiple funds. The same flexibility would be afforded with this pension trust, where we could reimburse the agency in the future for our unfunded accrued liabilities, payment that is required by CalPERS, or any other payments regarding pension liabilities. In addition, I will say I gave you 2 comparisons here, but I do want to note that in addition to these, I did contact or evaluate 2 other alternatives for full disclosure. I did speak with Keenan regarding a Pension 115 trust. They do have a pension and OPEB trust, but and it is IRS approved. But what they don't have is they don't service a lot of cities, counties, and special districts. They're really focused on the educational market. And when we took a look at their portfolio, they also do not have anyone in the higher tiered, what they consider more aggressive funding sources. A lot of those are very moderate, so they don't have any historical true basis for giving us what it is that their projections would return. Their costs are very comparable, and but I did want to also speak with them. And I also spoke with PFM. We'll talk a little bit about them. They recently merged with, not merged, but they became partners with PFM. And so PFM has an investment trust for pension obligations for those that currently have those. And so they're continuing to provide that service. But even during those contract evaluations, they're recommending that the agencies consider going with PARS because of this new partnership and lower fee structure that they have and better service. So if we talk about a little bit about the two that were left that were, in my viewpoint, better contenders for the district to consider, there are some differences between the two. The CalPERS trust is managed by CalPERS. They have a trust account with State Street Corporation. It was established in 2019. They have the 97 participants, about $248 million in assets. It does not require an investment policy to be decisioned by the board of CVWD because the investment policy is determined by the board of CalPERS. So CalPERS determines those investment strategies on behalf of the agencies, thus allowing them to have slightly lower fees. But as you saw, the investment returns within the CalPERS board that also does the investment strategies for the overall pension fund have not been that stellar. So they have two investment strategies. Again, no flexibility and being able to really adjust those two strategies to keep those fees at a lower rate. And the expected, highest expected rate of return for the a little bit more aggressive strategy is 5.4% for CalPERS. In comparison, PARS offers the same structure. We always have a trustee, we have a custodial bank, and an investment manager, which would continue or would be PFM. They were established since 1984, 500 plus employer participants, a lot of cities, counties, and special districts within this particular investment option. They have $8.1 billion in assets that are managed currently, probably a little bit more since the date of these numbers. And this would require us to establish a pension investment policy. And if we merge in the OPEB trust, and a separate OPEB policy as well, just like we currently have. Again, allowing the board flexibility to determine what that investment strategy is, allowing us to take a look at that every 2 to 3 years and make adjustments as necessary based on the returns of the portfolio and the current unfunded liability. There are 5 investment strategies and also a fully customizable option as well. The fees are a little bit lower if we select one of the standard 5 investment strategies, and the overall fees presented here are for all 3 of those services. PARS does give us a little bit more customer service than just than CalPERS as well, and they are able to be here and provide comments to the board and updates, just like we currently have with our OPEB trust. And also in the audience, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, is Mitch Barker, Executive VP from PARS. So he's sitting right here in the audience, so he's happy to answer any questions you might have. The investment strategies from PARS are expected to earn about 7.23% on the higher growth investment strategy that they have. And a balanced portfolio, which would be about 60% equity and 35% fixed income, would be 6.21%. So even at a balanced portfolio, we're looking at higher investment returns than what CalPERS is projecting. I'll stop there really
just
quick
curious.
for questions. Yes.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. I'm a little surprised CalPERS has such a low amount of assets in their program. Relatively new, yeah, but they're also a big dog, so you know it's a little more turnkey. But they don't have that much in there. So, if we did the PARS, I guess probably be true of either one. Do we decide from year to year how much we put in, or how much we? So then we could decide put $1 million or 10 million or whatever each year in here, or nothing, right? And then we would decide when and how much to move over to the actual CalPERS.
If and when you choose to, yes.
If we decide to do that, when we decide to do that, yeah, okay.
CalPERS, we don't do that. It's automatic.
If you send it directed to CalPERS, it gets directly invested in CalPERS within the unfunded accrued liability. And if you recall, it's earning these interest rates of return.
Carla, is it possible to take the $27.6 million that we've added to additional discretionary payments from CalPERS and transfer it over to PFM?
Too late.
Once they're sent, you cannot withdraw the funds from
Can't go
CalPERS.
back.
Are we obligated for the $7 million to go this year, or if we establish this trust, can we move it into that the trust?
Yes, that is correct. The budget is $7 million remaining. Doesn't mean you have to send the full $7 million.
Right.
I'd actually like to evaluate that because, as discussed during this meeting today, there are additional pressures within our funds. So I did want to go over this particular slide because the domestic fund in particular has absorbs about 44% of the cost within this budget. And so the recommendation, if we want to have a longer term strategy, let's say 15 years, again, if you recall, it's about 3.2 million. So we don't have to send the full 7 million. I'd like to take a look at our reserve balance and where our projections are, where our financial statements ended for the year. We're on our third draft of our financial statements, almost done. But just take a look at that and then give you a different recommendation, probably lower.
No, fair enough. But we do have 2.7 million that we didn't pay the parking lot.
So that's general. Yeah.
So I have some questions. The PARs, I mean,
what are you going to do with the money?
I think we need a little bit more on the pros and cons before we do this. This is a big thing to change over. You know, and I don't want to make a mistake. There's a lot of money and you know, a lot of people who are relying on that. The other question is why are you setting the target at 80% funded? Who decided that?
That was a discussion we had during our last board meeting. That was the board gave direction that they would like to target about an 80% funded ratio. And that goes also for the OPEB trust, which happens to be 99% funded
so
now.
I looked up what the average is for California, and it's 72%.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're on par for that. So I don't know if 80 is maybe not our number. Maybe 75% is our number.
Well, you got to pick your number. I mean,
You got to pick your number, but you have to have some reference on. I mean, I could say 100.
100% would be like
I wanna
I mean, it's like overkill because you're never going to get to 100, right? And so, you know, average is 72. Maybe we did pick 80 out of the hat, and I'd probably be more satisfied with 85, but 80 seemed to be the kind of at our discussion of the board, and it seems like a reasonable number. I mean, it's a little bit above average.
I just didn't know the.
A little above average.
I didn't know what the average was.
And I'll say this: I would much rather have PFM managing our assets to our investment policy rather than leaving it up to CalPERS investment policy that is underperforming on their goals and has not lived up to return expectations for 50 years. I mean, we're in a world. I think the state is in a world of hurt with CalPERS because of the bureaucracy and their investment choices that you know are socially acceptable and things like this. I think that we're with PFM on our OPEB trust, and they've been doing a great job for us in that regards. And I'm very supportive of going with PFM because of the relationship that we have with them, and because of the choices that the board is able to make with them in the investment policy, and write a policy that serves is going to serve ultimately the employees to know that you know the benefits are there when they retire. And so I've been watching these annual reports come in from CalPERS for 24 years, and I've never been satisfied with either the explanation or you know what the investment opportunities are. And I think Carla's just laid out a great plan for us moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just curious. If we go this route, so it sounds like these instruments the investment instruments are slightly more aggressive, which would necessarily have a relationship to higher returns. So is the security the same for our investment instruments as it would be for CalPERS? I mean, is there any difference? Maybe somebody could address that question.
Like the different type of investment strategies.
You're talking about risk of loss.
Yeah.
Principle. Yeah.
There you go.
The green.
Green? Yeah. Pleasure to be here with everyone.
Rich?
Good to see some familiar faces. So, the investment choices from a pooled standpoint are fivefold, from most conservative to least conservative. And the district has a choice of one of those five, or custom. For instance, moderately conservatives, 30-70. Moderates, 50-50. If you said, I want a 40-60 portfolio, PFM will craft a custom strategy to meet that need. So with the amount of money you have in the trust, you have the ability to choose what the risk tolerance level is, what the asset allocation mix is within that, and then whether you go active or passive. You can't get below that into the granular detail. That's obviously the job of the portfolio manager. But one of the beauties of the trust is you determine what the investment policy is. Unfortunately, with CalPERS, when you send the money to ADP, it goes into their one and only strategy, which, as you've seen, only met their number 4 out of the last 10 years. And like she also indicated, if you need it back for an emergency or a bad budget year, you can't get it back. So the 115 Trust provides that safety net. It's there earning a greater rate of return than the Treasury. It's impacting your balance sheet favorably, and it's there if you need it in an emergency. Or down the road, if you say, we've collected enough, let's send some of that to CalPERS for an additional discretionary payment. So you get all of those options.
Okay, thank you. So I think this is, thank you for that. I think this is another reason, this whole discussion, for us to either start having those finance committee meetings or to reconstitute the finance committee so that we can have people who are on that committee attend.
Fair
Sure.
point.
Up to the board.
Fair point.
Happy to do whatever.
Implied in your presentation is, unless I missed it, is the improved returns. I don't think it actually says that, but that would be.
They're not guaranteed.
That,
Yes.
They're not guaranteed. I understand that.
Right.
But
Past
that would be
performance
my.
is not
That would be my. I mean, that's really was the impetus for me behind the original OPEB trust for the post retirement benefits. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't think you put that in the presentation. I mean, that,
No, it's implied that the CalPERS rate of return has not met their target, and
No,
an
I get that.
alternative option would be recommended for the
should be
board.
better. Yeah, should be better. All right.
So
Carla, just to clear the deck here.
Yes.
There's a required employer contribution, and we typically have pre-funded that, so we get a savings.
Right, the 3.3% if you
Right.
pay it up front in July.
So what you're proposing here is not to put the required employee contribution in,
No, that would be.
but to put in a
right.
discretionary amount.
Right. The minimum unfunded accrued liability has to go directly to CalPERS, whether on a lump sum basis in July with the 3.3% discount or monthly, either one. And so this year we did an analysis of the investment returns, and it was noted that the savings, I think it's in the staff report, $336,221. We took advantage of that, sent the lump sum payment, but these are additional discretionary payments, not required at all. The board at any point in time could decide this is a bad budget year and
No.
we're not going to send additional money.
Now, what I'm hearing is if we fund this trust, if we need the money to build a parking lot, we can pull it out of there and use it for that.
You could have a reimbursement at any point in time for budgetary purposes. Yes.
So, is that true of the OPEB trust that we have now?
Correct. The funds, when we get reimbursed, are dispersed amongst the funds just as they are when you contribute them. Same percentage ratio, and they are discretionary to use for any district purpose.
And the OPEB are other post-employment benefits, health benefits, and so forth. And so we're we're in essence what they used to call super funded on that. That's why we're getting this 850 back on a year, or
We're 99% funded. We don't want to try, we want to try to stay below the 100%
yeah.
percent funded ratio so we don't get super funded and then have an IRS maybe audit on us. And so we're threading that line of trying to keep it. We may, next budget cycle, depending on the investment returns this year, recommend a slightly higher refund amount, reimbursement amount.
So that means that our value of our assets in the OPEB trust are equal to, or 99% of our accrued liability.
Correct, for the
Okay.
OPEB. Yeah.
That's excellent.
And that was one of my questions
It's
to the board
performed pretty
too,
well.
is if the board would like a presentation on the OPEB actuarial valuation. It's much smaller, condensed. It's about 20 pages in comparison to the CalPERS one, and we could have the actuary also provide a presentation to the board. We just did the valuation we do it annually, but we did a full valuation this last audit cycle on June 30th, 2024. And we can certainly provide that update as well to the board.
That'd be useful.
We'll work on
Okay,
that.
so I mean, I think that there's interest by this board to pursue the 115 trust. Sounds like a good with
How much
Parse.
you wanna
With
do
these
on the
guys.
catch up?
Yeah, I think
gotta
that
go
I
through
think
it.
that going forward, that whatever we decide to participate, it's board decision, and look at the budget. What are we going to do? I think that's all ongoing. This is a great, I think a great vehicle to get there.
I would agree with Director Aguilar that I'd like the Finance Committee to review the proposed strategies for the investments for both of them. Because if we're merging the two funds, we would have to have new investment strategy and policies with PARS. So it'd be great to have that dialogue with the investment or the Finance Committee
Yeah.
in advance of coming back to the board.
Yeah, good point.
Establishing the trust itself, we can bring back the agreement and establish the trust without
Good point. Yeah.
allocating any funding to it, but just to open up the trust, right,
Right.
Mitch? Yeah.
Right.
No charge to
Right.
get the trust set up.
Oh yeah, no startup fees.
No, sir.
Oh, that's nice.
Right, yes. Forgot to mention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, is that it?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mitch, good to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. On to board general comments, Director Nelson.
Yeah, it wasn't good to see that we only got 5% allocation in our latest state water project allocation, but San Luis Reservoir is filling rather nicely. I think it's about 80% full as we speak, so that's good. And we have a little bit over 100% of snowfall across the Sierras, so and 118 up in Northern California
For the early.
Yeah, so
snow,
that's good for early. Only 17% of the year, so
I
there's
know.
still a long ways to go. Yeah, I do have a question, Jim. I'd like to get some follow up on. There was an announcement of the Paris Dam Emergency Release Project, facility project, and I'm wanting to know if that's in coordination with the seepage recovery project. Does that mean more financial obligations for CBWD, or is that for the general State Water Project Fund or for the southern users? So if I could get a little more information about that. I just saw that announcement for the Paris Dam Emergency Release Facility this week, so
Got it, sure.
it'd be helpful
I'll get back to
to
you.
know about that. And also, Met is deliberating. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California is taking up the drought contingency plan, the Delta Conveyance Project today, and that's where Robert's at. And in their board packet, they reference an ability to meet some of their financial obligation to the $300 million for the ask from DWR. That $75 million is coming from a refund of prior overcharges, and would like to hear about what CBWD's potential refund or additional liability that that refund might cause. So that would be helpful. And then lastly, hats off to the Spark folks. Saturday night was just terrific, and I thought it was a great event. Good to see all you there, but even better to be able to talk to a lot of you guys and in a social setting and just have a good time. So thank you all for that, and thank the board for supporting that.
Thank you, Director Aguilar, Director Bianco.
Did you pass? Oh, okay. Boy, I know it's been a long meeting. I just wanted to talk a little bit about
it's a nice
Colorado River. We went to Crua, and what I took back is there's going to be some cuts, and it's gonna come somewhere, and a judge may decide. There may be a big fight between the upper and the lower, but there's going to be some cuts to the river, and can we conserve more in our homes and our businesses? Yes, but to me, I just think that the water is going to come from agriculture somewhere, and the federal government just spent $4 billion to help alleviate some of that water, and I think that, and I'm trying to tell everybody that will listen, that I do believe, and I'm talking just high level, that I do believe that the federal government should go in and buy agricultural land, not just in one area. Should probably do a bidding process. Don't take anybody's land, but go out and see what buyers there are out there on land that maybe isn't they're not putting permanent crops on, or maybe they're doing alfalfa or whatever it is. It's going to be all by cost, but spread it out between the north and the south, and I think that you can come up with maybe 2 or 3 million acre feet of water, take it out of production. I believe that you can put it into conservation, or allow the federal government to maybe those turn into homes one day and recoup some of their money, but don't allow it to go in. But I mean, that kind of makes everybody happy, I think. So I'm just trying to say that so maybe some people can start sleeping on it or thinking about it, that maybe that's a viable offer. There's probably a lot of negatives to that too that I'm not thinking about, but something's got to be done, and it's coming. The other thing, and I don't know if this is part of board requests for future agenda items, is that I would like to hire someone who can go through our bidding process to see how we can, as a district, either make it easier to attract more bidders. And I think there's, I mean, maybe we're already at the minimum, but maybe there's some things we can tweak by maybe the insurance isn't so high, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some small things that we can do to attract more people to bid. I mean, we have a problem here when we only get 2 people to bid on things. No wonder things are going to cost double. I mean, we get 8 for the parking lot, but some of these big projects, we need to attract people from all over.
Good comments.
Great comments, yeah.
Your first one makes too much sense. There's no way it'll ever happen.
But it'll never happen unless we start talking about it.
No, I agree. I agree. I just wanted to take a moment and send my condolences to the family and friends of this athlete who passed away Sunday during the Ironman triathlon in La Quina. So just to recognize that. I just learned about that today, but it's pretty sad. I mean, somebody coming out to enjoy a wonderful event like that and not making it home. Don't know I don't know what happened, but some sort of medical emergency. Anyways, there's that. Any other board requests for future agenda items? Buying farmland? I don't think that's really an agenda item, but it's worth talking about. All right, on to the meetings. Let's see, we had going back to November 14th, there's quite a few there. Director, I guess, Nelson on the CRB.
Yeah, that particular day, I didn't make the CRB meeting. That was on the 14th, John.
Yeah,
I'm
November.
looking for my agenda. Yeah, no, but I did on the 14th. I did attend a agricultural panel discussion with Kerry Scott and a number of the other panelists. So that was on the 14th.
Okay, I know there's quite a bit on the 14th. Director Aguilar, Salton Sea Authority.
Yeah, thanks, John. So I did attend the Salton Sea Authority meeting, and there were two items I wanted to report back on. One was that the audit for the 23-24 fiscal year was presented and approved with no findings or weaknesses by Davis Farr, who's the auditor, who, very strange, shortly after they presented this, they dropped us as a client, so it's kind of bizarre. But probably more importantly, there was a pretty robust discussion on the implementation of the Salton Sea Conservancy Act, which goes into effect in January of 26. And there comes with it a lot of money, $10 million for either the Conservancy or the authorities. So the board makeup of the Conservancy is going to be really pretty important. There are going to be 15 members on the board, and each representative that's currently on the board will get one appointee, plus the current president of the authority will sit on the board, which will be, in this case, Gina. And so there'll be more information to come. The authority is intended to take this up at their next meeting in terms of who's going to be appointed.
Thank you. The Director Bianco, you had two CVAG meetings on the 14th.
Yeah, so the Control Lake Conservation Commission, there's quite a bit of small parcels that we acquired, 2 in Thousand Palms, 1 in the Upper Mission Creek, and 2 parcels in the Santa Rosa, San Jacinto Mountains. And then for our Energy Commission meeting, so the Imperial, it was a urban and community forestry program, shade trees for Southern California deserts. The IID is partnered with Southern California Forestry Program to plant 5,000 trees in the, and there was a talk about the cost of that. There's a vehicle electrical charging station that's being proposed for, well, I want to say the Blythe area on I-10. I guess there's a for most electric vehicle people, there's a big need for that when traveling from Arizona to the Coachella Valley, and so this would help that need. And it's also, a lot of it is self-sufficient. So it's a plan with 40 acres of solar panels. So it's a huge piece. It won't do 100% of it, but it will be done.
I mean, there's quite a bit in Quartzsite already.
It's a neat concept.
Yeah, which is not too far from Blythe, at least of it. Okay. Are we gonna? Is that it?
Yes.
All right. Then November 18th, Agua Caliente mediation. I was there. I think you did. And I would say on Agua Caliente mediation, also listed is the December 9th meeting yesterday we had also, and we think we're going to get this done in the next meeting or two, so we're getting close. This is a broken record. Let's see here. The pipe rig tour on November 19th. I was out there. It was really nice, clean package there. Really impressive. I enjoyed going up and seeing that for the Chrome 6
Me too.
project.
So we did a really good job explaining
was really
how that all worked. It was very impressive.
Good.
I mean, it looks like, you know, if you had an erector set or something and you could just do whatever you want and build this thing. It was pretty, it had to be a little bit fun to build that thing. It looked cool. All right. Maybe I'm doing the wrong job. I would have enjoyed that. Disadvantaged communities. I was on that on the 20th. I was on that one by phone. It was a pretty quick meeting, which I appreciate. Going through projects. Let's see. And you mentioned the pipe rig tour, Director Bianco, on the 21st, and then Living Desert on the 22nd, Director Bianco.
What was that? Living Desert. Oh, so they were. We just went through the new board of directors there. They gave us an oversight of some of their new plans for the Living Desert. They let us. I'm drawing a blank, but you guys probably help me out with the animal they had to put down that had been there for a long time. Does anybody remember the type of animal that was?
Cheetah? Was it?
Was it a cheetah?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe. Anyways.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that. I don't want to start a rumor.
Okay.
I did remember reading that article. No, I don't think it was a cheetah. I don't remember what it was.
So I think I skipped one. The Coachella Valley Energy Commission.
Oh, I thought that was the discussion about the recharge, the charging station.
That was
that wasn't.
That was the Energy and Sustainable Committee. This is the Coachella Valley Energy Commission. So that was just they have a draft JPA. They wanted us to vote on it. Most of the cities and tribes wanted to take that back to their agencies for review, and that's what we're doing. We have a meeting this week. I believe it's on Thursday or Friday, to see if we're going to go ahead with that or not.
So Zoya was a 21-year-old Amur leopard who died Wednesday.
Okay,
this
that's
is
what it was,
a couple weeks ago. Almost a cheetah, but it's not. It's a leopard. Yeah, okay. Crua, December 4th through 6th. We were all there. That was a good opportunity for the various basins to snipe at each other a little bit. It was expected, and there's a lot of work to be done between now and next year's Crua to try to figure out how to allocate the reduced water to the various basins. Good meetings, though. Glad we'll be back at Caesars next year.
Yeah, two of us went to lunch with San Diego Water Authority, and the other two, Peter and I went with San Diego, and
I went with Matt, and we had a really nice meeting. A couple directors, and Devin was there, and some other staff from Matt, and I don't think I've ever really spent FaceTime with Devin, and
he's sharp.
He is sharp.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the opportunity to get to know him.
Yeah, and he's currently the acting general manager.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And just for those of you who are brave enough to stick around for our meetings reports, I mean, basically, the lower basin has committed to save 1.5 million acre feet of water on the river. So that's Arizona, Nevada, and California. And this last year, at the Colorado River Board, which I'm reporting on now too, we saved 1.2 million acre feet between Arizona, California, and Nevada. And so we're getting there. We're getting close, right? 1.5 million acre feet. And it's really, so it's, we're making real cuts. And the upper basin says, well, you were evaporating 1.5 million acre feet, so you should have done that anyway. So we're not even going to count what you're doing. And when you look at the compact, that evaporation is a de minimis of supply, and it affects the whole system. And so legally, we're on pretty good grounds. But we have saved 1.2 million acre feet, and now we have a plan. The lower basin has a plan to say, okay, we've saved the 1.5 million acre feet. Now, upper basin, how are we going to split this additional cuts? And they're unwilling to even talk about splitting additional cuts because they assert that they don't have an obligation, that they haven't built into their compact allocation, that they're using 4.8 million acre feet, not 6, so they have a right to grow up to 6, and that they take cuts every year on the river because there's not enough snow. And so that's their position. That's where we sit, and that's what the discussion was really all about. And it was very wide and open. We couldn't have one panel of all 7 states together. We had to have a lower basin panel and an upper basin panel because people aren't talking together, and there's lots of games being played. They won't meet with me, and so it's
not you. It's
true, right? Yeah. So the upper basin is saying the lower basin won't meet with us, and the lower basin saying we'll meet anywhere as long as it's productive. I mean, it's so a lot of political games being played, but to Anthony's point, that we've made some cuts and there's still some cuts to go. So that's my report.
It is impressive what the lower basin has been able to do. I mean, looking back at the graph for 2003 and showing how we dropped from 5.4 down to 4.4, that was impressive. And now these cuts are even below that. And, for California.
And we've hit a couple years at 3.8.
Mm-hmm, yeah. No, it's
I know, but
it's impressive.
These last 3 years or last 2 years have been compensated, which makes it a lot less painful for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But
right. Yeah.
When that goes away, it may be a different story.
Yeah, those federal dollars.
You have a good point, Anthony.
Those federal dollars were absolutely huge, and yeah. I mean, this is to your point of if you're going to spend it once and just buy the land. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead of that got us through a year, and now we need more money for the next year and more money for the next year. Yeah, I know. All right, I think you covered the CRB meeting, Peter, and so Employee Appreciation Dinner Saturday on December 7th was. Yeah, it was. Good job, Spark.
Yeah, good job.
I liked the venue. I thought it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being in a hotel ballroom, it's like something different and kind of
I agree.
Casual and fun. I thought it was neat. Next, DVBA. I did not attend that. Got busy yesterday, and I already covered the mediation yesterday. Are there any other meetings?
John, yeah, can I just add, with respect to the crew conference, I did attend a session that actually Peter chaired on agricultural pieces, and it was really fascinating to hear about the different conservation methods that are being used by other agricultural agencies for both planting and irrigation. Fertilizing. It was just really interesting, very high tech, and I was happy to hear from Peter that most of what was presented or all of it, we're doing here in the Valley. So that was really pretty cool. The other thing is, and I may have mentioned this already at the last meeting, I can't remember which meetings I reported on, Sylvia, but I have been attending the water rate setting BB&K sessions that have been held, one on November 7th and then one on the 14th. And they're really informative, and they're basically advising on how to litigation-proof your water rate setting process, particularly with tiered rates, which I think we're actually in a good place on. But it was good to hear what you need to be aware of.
Nice. Any other meetings? Do we have a motion to approve per diem for the meetings reported on?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 4-0. General manager report.
Sorry, I don't think our next meeting is until January, so happy Christmas, Merry New Year. In case I don't see folks here and out in the beyond the room. That's all I've got.
Council report.
No comment, just happy holidays to all.
And do we have any departmental reports?
Mr.
I'm sure
President.
they all want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Mr. President, I don't have
Sure
a
they do.
report, but we had chatted about the, and you said you would comment on the board committees.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I would say this. We usually look at committee assignments this time of year, and if you have any committees that you either want to get off or get on, I know we had mention of the Finance Committee. Please forward that to either to me or Sylvia. We can work on
And what
it.
I can do is I will forward a copy of the current committee list as it stands, that was previously approved, I think, last year. So you can take a look at that, and then if you do have any changes, please let myself or President Powell know. And we can agendize that for January. Thank you.
I mean, do we have any volunteers for the Finance Committee? I think
We have one volunteer.
besides Director.
The chairman.
He was the chairman of the.
No, I know. I'm tempted to get on that. I worry that my calendar is really full, but I've been on it before, and I thought it was a good thing.
Yeah, we'd work around your calendar.
So
Yeah.
one of the
What-
things I can offer for those committees, if it is more convenient, is to offer Zoom.
Yeah,
I don't know if
hate
that
Zoom.
helps or not,
Yeah.
but as
I'd
far
rather
as
do it in person, but
availability.
But I would. Why don't we just do that? Put that on. We can put it on there for approval at the next meeting.
Got it.
So, right, we can put that on the next meeting for approval. Yeah, and then anything else between now and then, just let us know if there's a change on a committee or representation on other agencies, et cetera. This time the board will recess into closed session to consider the items on the agenda, including the one we added, and we will reconvene an open session to report out following the closed session. While we're here, are we good to go? Yes. The regular meeting is hereby reconvened, and we have no reportable action from closed session. With no further business, we are adjourned.